Hi everyone, it's Ben here, and in today's video I'm hopefully going to make you feel a bit better about your practice and explain to you what I consider to be the most dangerous meditation phase that we go through. This might be something that you're experiencing at the minute, it might be something that you experience in time, perhaps it's even something that you've gone beyond and you have kind of transcended this phase. And basically, when we start off meditating, sometimes I see it with lots of different students. So there's lots of different ways that you can look at this and lots of different experiences that people have. But at some point, you will go through this phase. I can almost guarantee it. So some students, they will start and they will immediately have lots of lights, lots of experiences, lots of sensations or things going on within their meditation, which motivates them, it inspires them. They're like, oh my God, I need to look into this more. I need to explore this practice more and more. And at a certain period, it will all just drop away and they will be in what I call the spiritual desert. It can work the other way. It might be that you enter and things slowly build up. It might be that you don't have lights and flashy things. It's not necessarily like a really positive thing if you have those. It doesn't mean that you need to go through those to have considered yourself, doing well with meditation by any means. But some people will have them, some people won't. There's different ways of dealing with them. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. But some people will have those experiences right away, some people won't. And they might be that after a little while of meditating, you're starting to wonder, is this correct? Because nothing's really happening. I feel like I'm sitting down, there's no real feeling, there's no real experience. And then you're going online and you're hearing all these people or listening to all these people talk about different experiences that they have. Or you read books, you read the autobiography of a yogi, and you see these profound states that people reach, and you're like, something must be wrong. And this is, without question, the most dangerous phase in meditation. And I'm going to break it down for you today. I've got some notes down here, so if you see me look down, I'm just checking where I'm supposed to be and what I'm talking about today. So the first bit is the feeling. What generally starts to happen is a lot of your old tendencies actually start to rise again. So you'll be like thinking that you've made a lot of progress. It might be that you're thinking that your mind has started to calm down or things have started to feel a little better. It doesn't necessarily mean this, but in many cases, people will have been meditating for some time, perhaps 3 months, 6 months, a year, maybe a couple of years. And for whatever reason, a lot of their old habits start to return. So their anger or their frustration or the busyness of their mind starts to return. Now, what I would like you to consider this as being is a bit of a software update. So if you were to update a computer, you put in some new software or you update your phone when it tells you to do a software update, the phone kind of drops out, it kind of tanks out, and all of this information is being re-uploaded onto the phone so that it can be upgraded in a way. And if we were to look at this as like vibration, the vibration of the phone is increasing now. We're taking on a software that is more advanced. Now, when we meditate, we're always upgrading our software in the sense that we're always exposing ourselves to vibrations that enable us to expand. Consciousness-wise, we're expanding. Everything about us is expanding. Now, there's a few reasons as to why you won't feel very good. It might be, or you have the feeling of like old anxieties returning, old habits returning. One of the reasons is that you're here, your old self is here, old self, and as you're meditating and meditating and meditating, and it might be that you're meditating, by the way, in silence, meaning that there's no particular experiences happening, but you're just sitting down, you're doing the thing, and you're meditating, meditating, and meditating. All through that time, you're receiving light. You're receiving divine light. You're starting to still the mind. By virtue of the fact that you're actually meditating, you're sitting down, you're drawing in more prana, especially if you've been taught well, you have your body position perfect, and you'll be drawing in lots of energy. And all of that energy is working in various different ways. It's not really, again, not information for this video necessarily, but even when you're sitting and meditating in complete silence, and when I say silence, I mean like nothing's particularly happening. You're sitting there and it feels just quite empty. Things are happening. Like tectonic plates moving beneath the surface, you don't always know that they're moving. It's only at a certain point in that movement where the outer expression is experienced. So you've been progressing and progressing, even though you might not feel like you have been. And this new self, that has upgraded in consciousness a little bit. It might be just a slight shift. There is some memory of this still connected. There are some parts of you that are still clinging on and still wanting you to like be part of them, or for those to be part of you. It's almost like if you, I don't know, if you grew out of a friend group and you started to leave that friend group behind, but you had some stragglers in that friend group that were still kind of like trying to hold on to you. Come on, come out with us. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's almost like those old friends or friends are latching still to you as if you were, or you are the person that you were, if that makes sense. Like they're still holding on to the person who you were, but you've outgrown them now. The fact that you're still aware of them or experiencing them is just part of this transition. So it's quite normal that you might feel some habits that you used to have, or you would consider old habits, rise to the surface. Now, this is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that those old habits stem from your ego. So everything that makes up like our personality is an aspect of the ego. It's an aspect of the personality. Now that ego actually believes itself to be an I. So when we say, or if I was to say, for example, I am Ben, I'm a meditation teacher, I live in this place, I have this girlfriend, I have this many like family or relatives or something, all of that is associated to the I, but it's associated to the I that's been built in this life. That I is the ego. It's not the real I. None of those things are related to the true I, the divine self that we all have. They're related to the ego. This ego has certain feelings about things, it understands things in a certain way, has certain ways of interpreting things, and all of our emotions and things are tied to that ego. So when we start to go into meditation, what's actually happening is we're starting to let go of this I. So we're sitting down and we're meditating, and this I that has had free reign for all of its life, we're starting to say to it, right, I'm going to sit in this position, I'm going to breathe in this way, we're not going to move the body. I would like everything to be nice and precise, and I'm just going to follow the breath. I'm just going to follow the breath. And this I is like, hang on, I've been able to run around and do what I want for 20 years and probably several lifetimes. And now I've got to sit here and do nothing whilst you observe the breath. So this I starts to realize that it's being kind of anchored down in a way. It's not being allowed to have the free reign that it's always had. Now, a bit like a cobra in the grass, it will at some points subside, and it will sort of say, okay, I'll go along with this. And then after a certain while, and that certain while is really when it starts to feel threatened, it will kick back, and it will try to reassert and reclaim the control that it's always had. And it will do that through bringing up feelings like the anxiety that you used to face, or it'll bring up doubts, or it'll bring up other kind of resistance, basically. Anything to do with resistance, it'll bring up. Might even bring up anger and things like that. So it'll be very confusing, because you'll be like, oh, well, I've been meditating for 3 months. I felt like I'd made good progress. I felt like I was starting to get into it. And then all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel anxious again. I'm starting to feel anxiety, or I'm starting to feel frustrated or irritable, or I've been getting snappy with my family, and I don't understand why, because I've been meditating for 3 months or 6 months or 2 years. The reason is because this aspect of yourself, or a good chance is that this part of yourself is not happy about you having it under control, some extent, some degree of control. And so it is trying to reclaim that control by throwing these different weapons at you, by attacking you with these different weapons. And it will use things at its disposal, lots of doubt, lots of mental activity, resistance. All of these different things will come and kind of overwhelm you. Now, the next question, of course, so that's two things there. There's one is basically the ego kickback. The other thing is that you're going through a transition in consciousness, and parts of yourself are kind of, in some ways you could look at it like you've almost created a split, in that you're transitioning into this new level of consciousness, but there's parts of you that are still catching up. So that's one way of looking at it. Now, there's the next other thing that I do want to make clear is that a time may come in your journey with meditation where it is just quite simply that you need to change. And what I mean by that is that, similar to if you were driving to work every single day and you took the exact same route. You took the exact same route to work every single day for 2 years, and for some reason you just feel quite dry. It feels quite mundane. You're not excited by it. And because of that, lots of other parts of you start to feel a little bit down and a little bit, you've not got that same energy. And all it is that you need to change something. If you were to take a different journey to work, that might be the thing that just uplifts you. You know, if you're a runner, you might find that, I mean, I was someone that could just run in the same loop over and over again. It wouldn't bother me. But some people enjoy that change, and sometimes it is necessary to change. The same can be said for meditation. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm contradicting myself, because a lot of my students will know I emphasize that really it's best to find one method of meditation and stick to it. Now, if you're talking from a broad general perspective, that's still the case, but there are specific cases or specific times or certain people who will benefit from a change. So it might be that if you've been going through these experiences of like feeling the things that we've mentioned, you're feeling this kind of kickback, this resistance, or as though nothing is really happening in your practice and you're like confused about it or you're getting down about it, you've got two things that you can do. You can either work through it, quite simply, you can work through it if you feel like you're the sort of person that is comfortable working through it and you're like, I understand now, it's just one of those phases, I'm going to sit through this, I'm going to work through it, all is good. It's a bit annoying, it's a bit hard, but I'm going to do it. Don't try to fight to be in that sort of state, by the way. If that's not you, don't worry. The other thing is that if you feel like you're on a decline, if you feel like if I carry on doing this, I'm probably going to completely lose motivation for it entirely, then you definitely need to change. And I would look at generally either changing the technique. It may be that you've outgrown that technique. It may be that that technique wasn't the right one for you from the start. It might be that you just need a fresh start. You just need something else to like bring back some love for it and some enjoyment for it. I would also shorten the time. I know these are quite obvious, but I'd shorten the time. Sometimes you need to be told to do these things because otherwise you don't do them yourself. I'm a bit like that sometimes. Over the years, it's just been like, you just need simple advice, but oftentimes we don't look to the simple advice. We want something profound. But it's like, no, just change your technique, shorten the time, perhaps meditate in a different environment, perhaps put on some music, change things. If you're in a rut and you're questioning everything, you're feeling like you're losing motivation, nothing appears to be happening, even though, as I said on the point before, they could very well be, and they more than likely are, like positive signs that you're either transitioning or that your ego is kicking back, which is a good thing, by the way, because it means that old parts of you feel almost in danger because they are actually being put in a box. That's a very good thing. It still might be right for you to change. It still might be right if you're on that downward ladder. So even if you're going through a transitional phase that is positive, but you personally feel like you're sliding down a ladder and that at any moment, any day now, you might be ready to just give up, or you're losing motivation by the day for it, you're losing the love for it, that is not a good thing. And I would prefer, as if I was your teacher, I would prefer that you were to change the technique, find that love for it again, because that love, that quality of like enjoying it is more important than just rigid discipline. Rigid discipline has a place for sure, but the feeling and the state of mind that you enter meditation is much more valuable. So I would be potentially looking at changing, but as I've said, there's lots of nuances to this. And as I've kind of touched on, you might be the sort of person that prefers just to work through these things, and that's totally fair enough as well. So upgrade, moving beyond, yeah. And the other thing, the next point that I wanted to make is moving beyond spiritual candy. We call it spiritual candy. And I hope you, my American viewers, are happy that I've called it candy. Obviously, it's sweets in the UK, so I'm using your terminology here. I hope you appreciate it. But spiritual candy, the lights, the out-of-body experiences, the experiences of all the variety of experiences that you will have read up about, you will have heard about. We could call these spiritual candy. They often become more of a trap for people. So most people, not most people, it's probably a bit unfair, but a lot of people will become totally attached to these experiences. You know, they will, every time they meditate, they will be waiting for one of these experiences. And what actually happens is that the North Star of their practice, which should be for truth, it should be for moksha, enlightenment, the divine, the pinnacle of why you meditate should be for understanding who you really are at the highest level. But that North Star will end up changing and becoming these different experiences, which is a trap. So if you were to go to like pretty much any sage or saint and speak to them about how to deal with experiences, they'll tell you to dismiss them completely. If you see things, just put them to one side. If you hear things, if you experience anything, it's a trap. And although I wouldn't say categorically that's the case, I think there is value in some of these things. Generally speaking, it is better to put them to one side once you've had a chance to experience them and recognize that there is a possibility that they have come along because of your expansion in consciousness. That's a great thing, but let them go. They are ultimately spiritual candy. And it's almost like one way that I like to look at it, and I don't know, I'm not going to say that this is the absolute truth, but I think it's a helpful mentality to have. Is like, if this is, let's say this is the divine, even if it's within us, like the part of us that we're all working towards realizing, on the way, there's different gifts. That's supposed to be a gift, by the way. if you couldn't tell. There's different gifts, different experiences. And it's almost like us rising up. Eventually we'll hit one of these gifts, more than likely. And these gifts might be visions, they might be out-of-body experiences, they might be astral projections, whatever. And it's almost like the divine is saying, okay, you're working towards me. Ultimately, you're working towards me. And this is like the highest part of ourself saying this. So I'm going to give you these gifts here and see how much you really want me. Do you get caught up in all the visions? Do you get caught up in all the attachments and all the spiritual candy ultimately? Or do you dismiss these and still aspire for the highest truth? You know, it's like climbing a mountain and stopping, you know, for lunch or stopping permanently at all of these different stops to inspect the view. But all you really need to do is just get to the top. The view from the top is going to be much better. Doesn't mean you don't acknowledge these as you go along. You might look and say, oh, what a beautiful view. Right, let's carry on. What a beautiful view. Let's carry on. You don't sit here and set up camp for 3 months and become totally attached by the view at this stage. You continue. You keep treading the path. And so a lot of what I'm really pointing towards with all of this is that the fact that you're sitting down and meditating and things are quiet, it's a sign of spiritual maturity in many ways, because these experiences become a bit of a trap, or they have the potential to be a bit of a trap. But the divine, if you look at the teachings of Mother Meera and people like that, they all say that God is silent, and they also say that everything comes out of silence. So we do want you to be in a place where you feel peace sitting down, you're enjoying it, you like the experience, but it's more important really that you're just aspiring for truth. It's not so important that you're not having experiences and different things like that. So it is a phase, but as I said before, with the kind of ladder analogy, I know this can sound like there's better or worse, there's higher or lower. This is the only human way we can use to try to describe it, or this is one of the many human ways, but it's a human way of describing it. We're going up the ladder, right, in terms of consciousness. We're stepping up in consciousness, we're stepping up in understanding, we're growing. If you feel as though you're going down the ladder, in as much as your motivation for it, your love for it, you feel like at some point I'm going to have to bin it off, then coming back to where I'd written it before, I've rubbed it out now, then it's time to change. Then it's time to do something about it. If you're just sitting in silence, then understand what I've mentioned to you today in as much as it could be the fact that you're upgrading your consciousness, it could be the ego kicking back, which is also a good thing, or it could be a sign of spiritual maturity. It could be a sign that you've just now gone beyond a lot of these little experiences and you're entering deeper silence, and that's a great thing. So what's on the other side of it? What I would say, actually I'll write it here, this is the key part that I would recommend. I'm going to say recommend developing, but I think ultimately this in some ways is a byproduct of just working through all of this. Equanimity, or developing an equanimous mind. And that really is like, if we were to draw a seesaw up here, whether you have experiences or no experiences, whether you consider it to be a good meditation or a bad meditation, which is not even a thing, by the way, you want to try to keep this balance in your mind. So whatever experiences that you face, whatever the actual meditation is like, your state of mind is balanced. Someone that generally has started meditating will not have that equanimity. So they'll find, oh, it's a good meditation. Oh, it's a bad one. Oh, my mind was busy today. Oh, I felt really peaceful. Their mind, their state of mind is dictated by the experiences that they're having or not having, or what they perceive to be good or bad. That's quite an immature type of mind, really. Like a child's mind would be like that. As people who are aspiring for truth and who are meditating, we want to develop an equanimous mind. And we do that through working through these different experiences. So in many ways, the silence is also a gift. The silence is teaching you different parts of yourself, or it's developing different parts of yourself, I should say. It's working you in a different way, in the same way that the spiritual gifts do, the candy. So I don't want to go on and bore you to tears, but this is hopefully giving you some clarity on how to work through this, what I consider to be a dangerous phase. And by the way, the reason I consider it a dangerous phase is because most people give up as soon as they reach this part of like, oh, things aren't happening anymore. Oh, where are my spiritual gifts? Where's my candy? Many people drop out. And so this really is a way of like weeding out people who are not, haven't got that kind of real aspiration. The people who are going to work through anything, they're the ones that are going to work through these things. And as I was saying, it's almost like the divine is testing us and saying, how much do you really want to know the truth? Are you going to be drawn by the colours and the flashy things? Are you going to be drawn by what you've read or what you've heard? Or do you just want to aspire single-mindedly for truth? So I hope this gives you some comfort, some things to think about. If you're interested in learning more about meditation, if you need help working through different challenges, or if you want to explore different techniques, if you want to grow closer to the divine, I've actually just created a new course inside my school. So I'll leave a link to the school down below in the description. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.